Courage. It takes courage to follow Jesus, to love genuinely, to persevere, to not avenge oneself. Courage is what Jesus is telling his disciples they will need. He is beginning to show them the way forward is through difficulty and trial. And it will not be the glorious and victorious vision they have in mind for this humble Messiah. Jesus has set his face toward Jerusalem. He is prepared to stand up to the authorities, suffer, even die. The disciples hear this message, and it is too much to take in. They had expected glory and victory over the powers that be, and now Jesus is telling them otherwise. And Peter pulls Jesus aside and says, "God forbid it, Lord. This must never happen to you." And as readily as Jesus proclaimed Peter as the rock on which he will build his church, Jesus brings him down, saying, "Get behind me, Satan," and calls him a stumbling block. It is a terse, emotional interaction. Jesus knows there is no way out other than through. Glory will come through the cross at the point where heaven and earth intersect. And if the disciples want to be his true followers, they too must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow him. Recently, I heard a reference to how Westerners approach the cross versus how Eastern Orthodox approach the cross. Westerners make their way to the cross, lay down their burdens, and joyfully go on their way, while Eastern Orthodox make their way to the cross, lay down their burdens, and take up their cross. The statement made me pause and reflect. What does it mean to take up one's cross? Is this what it means by the statement, "Those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it"? So how do we go about taking up our cross? For the disciples, it could be taken literally. By following Jesus to the cross at Golgotha, they put themselves in danger of the same fate. For the generations of Christians to follow, including us, it seems more complicated. We haven't had the experience of being persecuted for our faith. Paul helps us to understand by shedding some light on the subject. Paul urges the community of Christians in Rome to love one another with mutual affection because love resides at the core of Christian belief. And it is what Jesus commanded us, to love God, to love one another. Romans were hierarchical in their society structure, and status meant everything. There was no mixing of the groups. So loving one another cut across status and hierarchy. Paul proceeds to challenge them and us by taking us to another level of love, instructing patience in suffering, perseverance in prayer, contributing to meet the needs of others, blessing persecutors, sharing joy and grief in the community. And no one is to claim special privileges, nor to repay evil with evil. We are to live peaceably with all. Humble oneself. In the world today, humbling oneself is often seen as lacking in the ability to stick up for oneself, or as in the case of some people who are considered holy, they're considered very holy, having died to self. Humbling oneself is a holy posture. It is a quiet, courageous act of self-sacrifice, allowing oneself to be broken, blessed, and offered as a living sacrifice. It is to become born anew. In talking about courage, Charles DuBose puts it this way: the important thing is this: to be able at any moment to sacrifice what we are for what we could become. And to become holy, we need to encounter the holy. We need to seek it out. How do we encounter the holy? Paul points to prayer, love, and patience. And sometimes we gain a glimpse of it, and other times we may find ourselves steeped in it. But we must seek it out. Seek, expect, await every moment to see God's face, experience the presence of the Holy Spirit, to encounter Jesus in another. Be courageous, because to love is to be courageous, to take a risk of being seen as foolish. When Moses encounters Yahweh on Mount Horeb, he hides his face in fear. And Yahweh calls him to deliver the Israelites from the Egyptians. And for Moses, this is a call for courage. Courage because Moses has killed an Egyptian and has run to a foreign land to save his life. So returning to Egypt poses a major problem. Moses also knows he lacks the skills to lead a people. He has a speech impediment. He's not a politician. And he just doesn't see himself as capable of such a formidable task. Who is he to deliver the Israelites? How will they ever believe that God has sent him? So God names God's self, I am. I am the unchanging presence that has always been, is, and will be. In I am, God becomes real, present. I am there with you in prayer, in suffering, in redemption, forever. And with God with us, we are strengthened to face our fears, to reach out and love to others, to persevere, to be patient. It was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing which you think you cannot do. Be courageous in life, in love, in every moment. Humble yourself to God and be courageous for the sake of the world."